All right, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for stopping by. I have an interesting video planned for you guys today, and I've kind of been working on this for the last 2 days, so I hope you like it. And you already know from the title of the video that we're kind of addressing Kabam with this video. And the goal of this video, so the first slide, I've created a slideshow. So the first slide here is disclaimer, and this is basically saying that this is not going to be a rant style video, right? I'm not going to just nonstop complain. This is essentially starting a conversation with the company that makes our favorite game. Okay, and I do mean our favorite game because I don't know about you, but for me, MCOC has been a part of my life for like 10 years now. And through so many changes that have happened, this is the one thing that has stayed consistent, you know? And sure, like I've come and gone from the game, but it just means so much to me that I want this game to keep thriving. I want this game to do well. I want it to exist for another 10 years, right? So if you just think that this is a rant video and Kabam just sucks and the game sucks, maybe this is not the video for you because we're trying to keep things positive and also maybe come up with some solutions to the general problem that we have with the game right now. Okay, so that being said, it's going to be a long video. I have a lot of things to say. So if you have some snacks, grab them. If you want to grind in the background, do it because, yeah, we're going to be diving into this. All right, so the first thing that I want to talk about, champion design. Okay, so enough videos have been made. There's a lot of CCP people who've complained about how Serpent sucks, Dark Phoenix sucks, and why these champions are bad for the game. So I'm not going to repeat this. We're not going to go over the same talking points. We're just going to brush over what this is because I do completely agree with the fact that these two champions especially represent a design flaw that can hurt the game in the long run. So yeah, Contest of Champions is starting to feel like Contest of Counters. And I don't know about you, but any competitive player who's doing Battlegrounds right now is more or less doing the same fights again and again and again, nonstop for the whole season. And not only are we doing the same fights, we have to do the same fights with the same counters to those champions. And I just don't see how that's a sustainable design model for any game, right? And for MCOC especially, it's called Contest of Champions. The whole idea is to play with as many Marvel champions as we can, not just the select 5 or 6 champions that everyone has to have because they counter the other 5 to 6 champions that everyone also has. So we need to tone that down. And again, I'm not going to give too much hate about this because enough has been said. And number two, Serpent and Dark Phoenix are two champions in a pool of hundreds, right? And it's kind of unfair if we go a little too hard over these two champions. Like, you can completely ban these two champions, like I have from Battlegrounds, and completely enjoy the game believing they don't exist. You know, you come up against them in war or some other situation, but that's okay. You know, you can't win every fight. But yeah, designs that are 1v1 counters, like to beat this champ, you need this champ. I don't think that's a good design. And if there's going to be new mechanics and new designed champions introduced in the game like Serpent was, Kabam needs to go back to the catalog of champions we have and either twerk or buff one of the existing champions to be able to counter them. That is just going to make the game really feel more inclusive for everyone who doesn't have access to the new counter that just came out. You know, and at the end of the day, games and this community runs on vibes. And if Kabam kind of leaves a sour taste in every player's mouth, that community is going to fall apart, and eventually so is the game. All right. And also, finally, I just want to say, let's bring back class counters, Kabam. Like, you know, mutant class kind of dominating the skill class, the techs. with their abilities, dominate the mutants. Like, it used to be a nice relationship with the class build that we had going on, but it kind of feels lost now. A lot of the tech champions don't do what tech champions usually do because they have to do what the new mutant champions need to counter. And I feel like somewhere along the line, we're losing the class relationship mechanic, and let's bring it back, okay? I'm not going to dwell on this too much. Again, I've spoken about this on my live streams as well, which you should join if you like to have conversation with respect to MCOC while playing MCOC. But yeah, champion design needs to be fixed, but I'm going to leave that to other people who've already addressed this a lot better. This, however, is something I do feel like I need to bring up, which is that mechanics in the game are getting a little too out of control. Okay, now if you're looking at the screen, the slow debuff is basically the decelerate debuff. And why do both of these need to exist? The petrify debuff is essentially the specter debuff, but not really, but also it does the exact same thing. Okay, there's a power drain, and then there's a power dissolve. There's a wither, and then there's a suppression. I mean, this just feels like you're running out of ideas. And because you're building champions with so many immunities in mind, again, going back to the same thing, because this design philosophy of one champion counters a different champion, and the next champion needs to counter the champion that came before it, you have to kind of build these repetitive mechanics that already exist in the game. Okay, and I mean, even the same applies to buffs. I mean, true strike, true accuracy, true sense, true I mean, it's too much. Okay, we need to follow at least a certain level of consistent design when it comes to champions. I also don't like when multiple abilities are kind of mixed and matched into one buff or one debuff. Like, either they work with power gain or they interact with regen. You know, these doubling of buffs and debuffs, it looks very desperate from a design's perspective, because what you're doing is you're confusing champions and you're confusing players. You're confusing players with a design philosophy that most people who have real lives don't have the time to invest and get to understand. Okay, I want someone at Kabam this is a good faith exercise. Okay, sit someone down, one of your fellow employees, in front of you, and explain to them why and how each of these debuffs and each of these buffs work. Explain to them how one does one thing, the other does a different thing, but it also has the same impact as the first one, and it also technically counters the same ability but in a different way. And I want you to do this for 5 or 6 debuffs, and then while you're doing it, I'm pretty sure you'll come to the realization that this is the dumbest thing that you've built, and new players that are coming in will leave the game when they get to a point where they have to understand way too much stuff. And if you're planning on building a game that is lasting more than 10 years. We've successfully made 10 years. It's been a rocky road. It hasn't always been perfect, but this is a huge achievement for MCOC to have made it to 10 years. If you're a company who wants to exist for another 10, and I'm someone who really wants you to be here for another 10 years, this design philosophy with game mechanics needs to stop. Okay? Stand immune champions now going to sleep, and then you're going to have sleep immune champions, and then you're going to have another knocked out mechanic come out to work around that. I mean, the repetitiveness needs to calm down. Work with the mechanics that the game has established and work to simplify champion kits. Okay? Same applies with buffs. And again, like I said, we're not just doing criticism, we want solutions. Okay, so this is where the solution part of buff and debuff design needs to come into place. You have a mechanic like slow. That's the example I'm going with. Slow needs to be a definitive effect. Okay, it needs to be red. It means that a champion that has a slow debuff on them is completely stopped from evade and unstoppable. The only way to avoid slow needs to be an immunity. Okay, so champions like Destroyer, who are immune to slow, perfectly fine, right? Now, on the other hand, when you want to introduce a similar esque mechanic, Decelerate needs to consistently across the game be a percentage based debuff, and it needs to have a visual. It needs to have a visual difference. Okay, like for example, I've marked it in a yellowish orangish tint, and 25% decelerate. It's something that can stack, and it cannot be countered by immunities. I forgot to add the bit about immunities, but you cannot have a champion who's immune to decelerate, because the whole point of decelerate, it exists because you want it to counter slow. You cannot then go back and counter decelerate as well. Okay? So it builds a consistent tone within the game, which is that there's a definitive effect and then there's a stackable effect whose benefit comes when you stack multiple of the same debuffs. Okay, there needs to be a visual difference. It needs to be more easily understandable by players who have been playing the game for 10 years and who've just picked up the game 10 days ago. Okay, because game design and consistency, everyone can follow. Inconsistent, random ideas that you bring in to counter problems that you create is not a good way to go about designing this game. Now, let's talk about another one of the big issues that I felt with MCOC, and I think a lot of people agree as well. Okay, we've talked about champion design a little bit. Again, I didn't elaborate too much on this because I've seen so many videos myself on people complaining why champion design and how champion design needs to be fixed. So I'm going to try and focus more on the points that I feel like I'm bringing to the table here. Game mode design. Okay, end game content today, if you take a look at any end game content, it does not feel like it is end game. It only feels like Kabam's putting something out and saying, as of right now, this is the hardest thing that you can do in game. Okay, and all of the rewards that you design for that content within 6 to 8 months are outdated. So what you're left with now is a game mode that you put a lot of work into designing, which is now outdated, and newer champions and newer players counter these game modes so easily. But because the rewards are not worth the time spent, no one is ever going to touch this. Okay, so a simple example that I'm going to give is that my girlfriend started playing this game 3 months ago. She's at a point where she's already taking 6-star champions to rank 4. She completely blew past 3 and 4 stars. She never even bothered with them. Okay, 5 stars, she ranked 5 of them, and by the time she was in a position to rank the 6th one, she already had a full rank 3 6-star roster. This is not someone who's going to go into Road to the Labyrinth. This is not someone who is going to go into the Abyss of Legends. Okay, this is not someone who is going to even try Labyrinth of Legends. So these game modes are just sitting there collecting dust. Okay, the same applies with other game modes that you've decided, like the back issues. What is the point of back issues today? Okay, anyone who starts to play the game goes from Act 1 to Act 6.4, their account is so advanced that they will never touch any of the back issues or any of the decade-long endgame content that Kabam put out. Okay? What is the solution to this? Okay, again, like I said, we're trying to give solutions so Kabam can fix this issue. And my solution is very simple, which is that all rewards need to be loot box based. Okay, what is a loot box? It's just a selector. Okay, it's a simple selector that has a tier level attached to the whole set of rewards that it gives. Now, let me go into the game to give you an example, okay? All right, we're going into Special Quest. Now we're going into, let's say, not Road to the Labyrinth, we'll go into Labyrinth of Legends, all right? Now, all of these rewards, right, they were good for when they came out, okay? This is stuff that most people can buy just from a week worth of glory, even if they're at a cavalier level, right? And the length of this quest and the time invested is not worth, like I said, for most people to even touch. So what do we do here? You take all of these rewards, okay? You put them in a selector box, okay? And just like you have selectors for side events where Valiant players get to pick the highest tier of the selector, these now need to be attached to those tier levels. These rewards need to be updated in the easiest way possible without Kabam having to do too much work, which is if tomorrow, let's say after Valiant, they come up with a new high echelon of what the progression title is. Okay, all they would need to do is update that loot box with a new set of rewards and swap that out. They don't have to redo the whole game mode. They don't have to reintroduce the game mode. They don't have to tune the difficulty. It's going to stay consistent with players who are pushing to a certain level. And for newer players who actually have aged out of this game mode easier, like, right? So they've already become Thronebreaker. They already have 7-star champions. They have no reason to go into Labyrinth of Legends. Well, guess what? If they, as a Valiant player, go and do this content, what's going to happen is they're going to get better rewards. Not rewards that were here originally, but rewards that Kabam has put in that scales with Valiant level players. This is also adding a new breadth of life into this game mode, because now you can repeat this end game content as you progress within your titles. Now, this doesn't happen too often. Like, when is the last progression tier that most end game players cleared, right? Valiant is like over a year old at this point, so it's not something that you're going to farm. So Kabam doesn't need to worry about rewards per se being over flooded, but at the same time, this game mode isn't completely useless taking up space. Okay, so loot box designed selectors for rewards is going to make all of this a lot easier. Now, oh, sorry about that. Here's what I came up with as a suggestion for Kabam, okay? Remove the existing Legends endgame content, because I do think it's going to be too complicated to refresh the reward structure within these quests. Start a 3-month counter whenever you decide to, and expire these quests. Reintroduce the exact same fight, exact same quest with the new crucible mechanic that you've already made for the game. Okay, so let's say 65 fights in Crucible 2. Let's not get that crazy. 50 fights. 50 fights within, let's say, Realm of Legends. Let's say Labyrinth of Legends. 50 fights within Abyss, 50 within Necropolis. And all of these need to have a selector. Okay, we don't want you to swap the difficulty though. Like, it has to be the exact same fight. The difficulty needs to be the same. So say someone with 6-star or 5-star champions should still be able to do this content, because that is what it was intended for. Okay, we're gonna call it Decade of Dread, right? Because this was the first 3 endgame designs that Kabam had built over 10 years of Marvel Contest of Champions. Pay homage to that. 3 quest, Crucible style, 50 fights each. Add a selector that gives Valiant players today maybe a couple of Nexus 7-star champions and a rank 3 gem. Nothing too crazy, nothing too game breaking, but enough to bring some life into this existing content. Okay, let's move on to the next. This is a little bit controversial, so just hear me out before anyone says, well, this game mode is perfect, no one needs to complain about this. This game mode redesign was honestly one of the better things Kabam did, but they kind of made it unnecessarily time consuming and a hindrance to people who have time to play the game. Let me explain what I'm trying to say here, okay? Now, if you think about the quest here, let me go back to the game. If you look at this quest, if you look at these or at the gold quest, I usually do all of these. I'm a Valiant level player, right? And I believe most people above the Paragon level will be able to auto-fight all of this. I need to go through 4 different quests on auto-fight, okay? Auto-fight is not something that you can turn on and put your phone in your pocket. Your phone still needs to be on and in front of you because every now and then you need to select the direction that the champion has to go, right? Me auto-fighting the game for over 25 to 30 minutes is a little stupid. Okay, every person who has a job has maybe an hour or 2 hours dedicated to playing MCOC on a daily basis. If you're asking them to spend 25-30 minutes by just leaving their phone open, auto-fighting, something that doesn't need to be so spread out, right? Let's fix it. Let's fix it in a very simple way, which is, first things first is this supply run structure, the last fight that I have an X on. Let's remove that for 1 second. Let's blend the weekly supply run 1, the daily catalyst harvest, and the daily essential gold quest into one single quest. You can have different parts for different difficulties, okay? Because you already do, but it should be one single quest, okay? It can take just as much energy as it takes right now to do this whole thing 100%. Every day I complete this quest 100%, which is the weekly supply run. For the daily harvest, I do the top 2 difficulties every single day. The daily essentials, I may or may not do it depending on if I care about my energy. But combine the energy. I'm not even asking for an energy discount. Okay, Kabam, just combine the quest into giving all of these rewards cumulatively. What this is doing is you're asking the player base to do one quest on autofight for maybe 10 minutes. And then the rest of the time they have, they can actually play the game. And I have some interesting ideas about the game coming to the rest of this video. So trust me on, we need to merge these. The rewards can stay the same. The rewards are perfect. The fight difficulties are perfect. It's just that the nature of these being spread out is so unnecessary that people who want to play the game are stuck having to auto fight a quest that isn't interesting. Okay, let's do one daily quest that refreshes that you have to complete, and that is it. Now, the quest that I took out, what do we do with that? Boss rush. Okay, hear me out. I like the rewards that the supply run gives. Okay, however, it is the same boring auto fight fiesta that doesn't do anything for the game. Any person who plays a video game, any person who plays MCOC, seriously, knows that there is a massive community around this game. You have YouTubers, content creators, graphic designers, everyone contributing their time and energy for free to talk about this game. Okay? If you think that these champions on the screen look similar, it's because they already exist. Okay? These are Act 6, Act 7, Act 8 mini bosses that essentially are just reskinned champions that are fun. They're visually fun. They don't need to be complicated. I'm not asking you to up the difficulty. All you need to do is one single fight every week. What this is going to do is it's going to increase the engagement the community has with the game. Every week, every YouTuber who's making MCOC content is going to be like, Who can you use for Night Carnage? Who can you use for Ice Phoenix? Who can you use for Gwenperion? Think about how movies and TV shows that are doing weekly releases now on streaming platforms are not going for the binge drop. They're going for weekly releases because they want audiences engaged on a weekly basis with the content they're putting out. They're tracking social media engagements. They're tracking how many people are talking about how many characters for what movies. The same needs to be followed with this game. And you don't have to spend a penny to do that. All you have to do is copy paste the boss fight that you already have in the game, throw them on a single node. You already have the rewards designed. All you need to do is paste those rewards on those quests. Keep the same token system. You have to defeat Night Carnage, Ice Phoenix, and Gwenperion to get to the final Electro Luke boss at the end of the month. Okay, and this can go on repeat. You have enough mini bosses to do this on repeat every month for the rest of the year. It's nothing that you have to keep updating or paying attention to. This is free engagement for your game, and it adds a little bit of excitement within the community because every time a new event quest drops, everyone's YouTube sub boxes, Twitter feeds, and any other socials are filled with what new thing has dropped in MCOC. And 6 days later, we are all a community that is grasping at straws until the next big thing happens, which is usually the final week of the month or the next month altogether. This is a good way to create interest and generate community engagement. Kabam, I hope you take some of these insights and come up with a decently fun, refreshing game mode for side quests. All right. Now, the next game mode redesign we need to talk about is arenas. This is tough, okay? Arenas are something that people either love or hate or don't care about, but they've been in the game for ages, okay? Most people that I know do not touch arenas whatsoever because there's nothing in the arena that is fun, exciting, or rewarding, okay? Sure, unit farming can be done with arenas, but the amount of time it takes to actually do arenas, you don't really have as many places to spend units these days. I have 1700 units. Other than crystals and random revive offers here and there, there's nothing interesting about spending units. I can probably tell you that Kabam has enough data to point on their fingers how many people grind arena for units for the Cyber Weekend sale or for any of these big July 4th type events, because at this point, their events cost like 40, 50,000 units. I don't know any sane person who is grinding that much arena to get units to get those offers. It's just not worth it. So let's talk about the fact that it's been 10 years. It's time to refresh and redo the arena mechanic completely. Now, I have a few things towards the end of the video when I'm talking about currencies in game, where I'm going to touch up on arenas a little bit more. But right now, here's my simple arena rework suggestion. For new players who are between Act 1 and Act 6, okay, 1 to 4 star arena. Every single day, they can grind a 1 to 4 star arena for gold and ISO. The biggest challenge for new and upcoming players is champions that they're not familiar with and resources they don't have to rank up newer champions that they're getting. Arena is a great place for new players to just interact with all of the champions that exist in Marvel Contest of Champions. Okay, there's too many. You don't know. A new player is never going to be able to understand how to fight Serpent. A new player does not understand why he's not able to parry Shuri or any other champion who is contact hit. Okay, these mechanics are not explained in game. This is something you learn with experience. If you fight every champion regularly in arenas while getting gold and ISO to rank up your existing champions, it's the perfect equilibrium to get players engaged in the game, to get new players familiar with existing champions, and to give them resources to rank up the champions that they definitely need to be ranking up. Okay, if they hit these gold and ISO paywalls where they can't rank up champions as fast, people will lose interest. Okay, in my experience, in today's day and age, if you haven't made your way to 7 stars within the first 6 months of playing this game, you are more likely to quit MCOC because you've just lost interest. The best way to retain new players, and we need a whole new group of players to come in that has going to play the game for the next 10 years. Again, otherwise this game will not last. If you're only banking on current player base to continue playing for 10 years, this game will not last. So streamlining a new generation of players coming into the game is very important. And this is a good way to take away some of the roadblock that new players have. The second arena will be a simple 5-star arena. The only champions you can use in this arena are 5 and 6 stars. Okay, it's going to be short. It's only going to have selectors as milestones. Okay, what do the selectors have? Based on your progression, you will get either a 5-star champion if you complete all objectives, 6-star champions if you complete all milestones, 7-star champions, 7-star shards if you complete all milestones. Shards, simple, easy. Contest of Champions is all about acquiring champions. Putting 5, 6, and 7-star shards based on progression is the simplest, most easiest thing Kabam can do to keep players engaged and give them more champions. Shards, simple as that. The final arena you need to have, which is the third arena, is the 6-star arena. This is essentially the same as the 5-star arena. The only difference is that you will be getting rank up resources. And all of these rank up resources, again, will be simple selectors that you can pick whether you want tier 6 class catalyst, whether you want tier 6 basic, tier 5 basic, you want tier 3 alpha. It's similar to one of those selectors that you get from the second milestone in the daily super event. Simple as that. Okay, you can either have 4,000 tier 4 alpha, you can have 100,000 tier 5, tier 6 basic catalyst. You get the point. Simple refresh, resources in one, shards in the other, golden ISO for the new and up and coming players. Everyone else will do arenas only for these resources and battle chips. I'm going to talk about battle chips when we get to currencies, but keep this in mind. Keep this in mind, what I've just pitched as an arena rework, and we'll touch upon it after. The next game mode, raids. Okay, I'm not going to talk about much. Raids is a fun, good game mode. Make it permanent. Remove Alliance Quest altogether. No one wants to do map 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, it is stupid. We have quests throughout the game with act content, with event quest, with side quest, with special quest, with endgame quest. Enough with the quests. Raids is exciting. It needs contribution from Alliance members, making it an actual Alliance-based event. Okay, I have been completing my Alliance's AQ map 7 by myself for, I think, 6 weeks in a row. Because no one wants to do AQ, we just open the map, people randomly jump in. And because I'm someone who has a lot of time to play MCOC right now, I'm the only one completing AQ. It does not feel like an Alliance event. Right now, we have raids going on, and my chats are firing up. Everyone is participating. Raids is fun. Make it permanent. Remove Alliance Quest altogether. That's it. Regular raids every single day. Nightmare raids can be once a month, depending on whatever your goal with the saga journey is. Okay? Let's go to the next one. Alliance War. Alliance War is a little bit like Alliance Quest, whereas you can technically do it by yourself, but I think it's a good game mode. I don't think it needs work at all. I think slap on a fresh map and slap on fresh nodes once a year and leave the game mode as it is. Okay, as you've added a new currency of radiance, which has sparked some life. We're going to talk about how you can make Alliance War a little bit better after this when we again move to the next topic. But for now, Alliance War is good. Just don't let it sulk for too long. Once a year, do a map refresh, do node refresh. It brings some light into the community. People are excited to see what's new, try new paths, try new nodes. Once a year. That's it. Alliance War. Let's continue talking about why I think solo raids needs to be changed, okay? And my face is kind of covering the little bit of text underneath, so here you go. I want Kabam to replace solo raids with a very simple champion test map. The CCP already have a champion testing map, and I think that because Kabam has developed this for champion testing, every player in the game should have access to this map. And they need to blend this a little bit with what they've done with raids. So, with solo raids, if you've tried it, basically what you do is you go into the fight, and in one of the nodes, you pick a node, which it could be Bundle of Basics, Thanos Say It, Modok Mind Games, and that node is then applied to the boss champion. And I think that Kabam needs to incorporate this within a champ test map. So any champion you pick, you select a node, that node gets applied to the champion, and then you can go test any number of champions that you want against that boss. It's simple, it's effective, it's fun, and it allows players to actually experiment with champions and play more champions as opposed to relying on just second-hand information from people saying a champion is good or bad because they have access to a test map and other general players don't. I think this is a very important change that they need to make because the number of champions we have in the game, it is impossible for most players to play all of these champions. But if they can at least test some of them, they might actually end up liking that champion. And this gives the game more room to breathe. If existing champions are still being used, the game can advance with new champion design at a steady enough pace where the game doesn't feel dull if there hasn't been a banger or OP game-breaking champion in the last few months. All right, let's go to the next point. Currency. I cannot explain how overwhelming the currency system in this game is. Let me just try and show you. We have battleground tokens that you get from playing Battlegrounds. Then you have glory that you get from playing Alliance Quest. Then you have loyalty that you get from playing Alliance War. You can do side quest where you get Mysterium. And then there's an incursion game mode that gives artifacts. And then if you excel at high tier competitive gameplay, there's Radiance in Battlegrounds and Radiance in War. There's also Radiance in high level Alliance Quest. And in the event quest, you collect this new thing called Ethereum, which actually gives you the milestone rewards because for some goddamn reason, Kabam decided to remove milestones and completion/exploration rewards. Don't reinvent something that's not broken. Oh my god. Okay? Then there's gold, then there's units, then there's battle chips. What do battle chips give? Gold and units. This is the most repetitive backwards as currency system in the game. Okay, so currency in game needs to be toned down significantly and simplified. I don't even want to talk about the fact that there's more currency on the web store. So if you're a sigil person, you also collect sigil credits. If you spend on the web store, you get loyalty points. I mean, stop, Kabam. Stop with the currency influx, okay? We need to tone it down. Let's talk about that. First things first, remove loyalty from the game. 100% of loyalty, delete it. Okay, it serves absolutely no purpose. Let me go back into the game for a second. This is what the store looks like right now. If we go into the Alliance tab and just under the Glory tab, this is what the loyalty store is. It is just a bunch of potions and revives and overpriced catalysts and gems and a crystal that for some ungodly reason refreshes in like 90 days or some shit. Who wants this? Okay, this is absolutely stupid, because what this basically means is that you get loyalty by winning war, and then you spend that loyalty to get resources that you again spend in war. So if you don't want to play war, you can basically just forget about loyalty and your life will be awesome. And you have no incentive to play war, because the resource that you get as a reward, the currency that you're collecting, the 2.7 million loyalty that I'm sitting on right now, you can spend on potions on Alliance War. How does this make sense, Kabam? Okay, I know you have very intelligent devs who are designing the game, who are coming up with new ideas. How do you let something like this exist and then sit for years? Okay, let's go back to delete loyalty completely from the game. Replace all Alliance War rewards with Glory. So any and all Alliance event now has one currency reward that you earn and spend, which is Glory. Okay, it's simple and it's consistent. The Glory store is maybe one of the best stores we have in game. I think it can be tuned a little bit to make it so that we can spend Glory and get items in whole capacities. Does that make sense? I don't want to buy 10 to 15% of a catalyst. Price it to what a whole catalyst is and let me earn more Glory and then buy that. If we have both Alliance War and Alliance Quest giving Glory, then this is a really, really good way to justify retuning the Glory store to give whole catalyst and whole items as opposed to shards and bits and pieces. Okay, let's move on. Delete loyalty. Arena crystals and battle chips. Battle chips are earned by doing arena. What else do you get from arena? Gold and ISO. Well, what do you spend battle chips on? Arena crystals. What do the arena crystals have? Gold and units. I mean, what is this? This is dumb, okay? So here's what you do. You completely delete all arena crystals from the game and you introduced a brand new battle chips store. Just stay with me here because we're going to get into it. This is what the battle chip store needs to be. Potions, potions, and revives. Okay? The entire game relies on potions and revives, and this new currency, battle chips, is how you get potions and revives for all game modes. Okay, this is the most simplified version of what we have as a store right now. If you go into the game, which we're going to again, loyalty for Alliance potions and revives, then you have Glory for Alliance Quest potions and revives, and then you have units that you can buy potions and revives from. I'm having a tough time even navigating. Okay, it says unit store, but it is actually a cash store. What are we doing here? Okay, the actual unit store is just called store. Great. And here again, we have incursions, we have units. For unit stores can sell everything, right? So why not have an in-game currency that you can use to buy all potions and revives that you need. This is what it would look like. Okay, you split up all of the potions and revives for battle chips. 10,000 for level 1, 20,000. The units, the cost is just a placeholder, okay? So revives and potions now will be exclusively available in the battle chip stores. So you take them all out of glory stores, you take them out of loyalty stores, you take them out of every other place in the game, and you move it into the battle chips store. I know a lot of people will be like, whoa, 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 whoa. We don't want to do this. But trust me, this is for the health of the game. And also, we're going to touch about a very important topic right after this one. That's when this will make perfect sense as to why I'm suggesting. This is me meeting Kabam halfway, as opposed to going ham and asking them to basically build a free-to-play game that can never make enough money. Okay? This will make sense in just a minute. So hear me out here. Okay? What this is going to do is this is going to make Arena a key game mode for free-to-play players to grind and get revives and potions. Okay? Kabam made a post recently, so it was Kabam Crashed, I believe, who made a dev-ready post explaining that they're having trouble monetizing the game because players don't spend on consumables anymore. Because consumables and are so easy to gain and players are getting so good at the game, they don't KO as often. They don't end up using most of the resources, so it just piles on easier. This allows that system to still exist for people who don't want to spend to get these resources. However, they will have to play the game to get the battle chips from arenas, and they can use that to get revives and potions for any game mode that they choose. Okay, this includes incursions, by the way. All game modes will have revives and potions in the battle chip store only. Make sense? Okay. Outside of arenas, let me just get rid of my webcam here. Players can only get revives and potions with units. This brings back units monetization. Now, this is a favorable thing for Kabam. Okay, they want to be able to sell units. Not just offers, not just resources and champions, but also units. If I'm someone who does not have hours and hours on my hand to play Arena, I can just buy a unit pack. Okay? If there's someone who does have all weekend to play the game, let them farm arenas and let them spend those battle chips to get all kinds of revives and potions for all kinds of game modes. It's as simple as that. This is going to have to be a healthy balance from Kabam's side. If they just make these so expensive that a whole week's worth of Arena does not give you enough battle chips for all different game modes, then that would be an extremely shitty thing. I don't want them to do that. I want them to respect the player base and balance out the battle chips in a way that you can comfortably buy at least 5 single revives in every game mode with 1 week of Arena grinding. All milestones, 1 week, and 5 revives worth of battle chips. 5 in general in-game revives, level 2s ideally. 5 Alliance Quest ones, 5 Alliance War, and 5 incursions. Okay, so this is something that Kabam is going to have to give some thought and do justice to. Okay, trust me, this is the best way that they can bring back a dead game mode, revitalize a dead currency, and at the same time shift their monetization ideology in the right direction. Okay, let's move on to the next point, which is, now that these changes have been made, what does Arena look like? Remember when I said, when I was talking about refreshing arenas, that we're going to touch upon what arenas will actually even look like? This is what it looks like. All right. The 4-star arena, you use 1 stars, 2 stars, 3 stars, and 4-star champions. Okay? You get gold, ISO selectors, and battle chips for every single milestone that you do. Okay? The way it's going to have to be balanced is that Kabam will need to calculate how many on average units did Battlegrounds give out. Okay, I'm sure they have 10 plus years of data. Okay, I think Brian Grant from contestchampion.com did the math on one of his live streams casually on what the average unit and gold gain is. And there's a bunch of content creators who have a bunch of videos on it. I don't think it will be difficult for Kabam to come up with a honest number of how many units and how much gold grinding Battlegrounds and opening Arena Crystals gave. All they would do is honestly split gold and battle chips into the milestone rewards. That's the first arena. The 5-star arena, this is where you get 7-star shards is what I've put in. But if you're a lower progressing player, you're say Thronebreaker or Cavalier, you get 6-star shards. Significant enough 6-star shards. So my idea of the arena is these arenas need to go on. Whoa. Sorry about that. I've never made a video that is this long. So if you've made it this far, please drop me a thumbs up. These graphics took me 2 days to make, guys. And I hope you're finding some value out of these, okay? Let me get back on topic. The Shards Arena, in my view, all of these arenas should last for 7 days. The whole week. It should not refresh within 3 days. It's a simple auto-refreshing arena every week, Monday to Sunday. Every Monday morning it refreshes. It's a fresh new arena, fresh new milestones. If you get all milestones from the 5 and 6-star arena, from the 5-star arena, the Shards arena specifically, not only do you get units and battle chips from the milestones, but what you get is 1 whole champion crystal worth of shards. Now, these shards can be 6 stars, 5 stars, 7 stars, depending on your progression level. But it has to be at least 1 champion crystal worth. That's the only way that you can legitimately justify asking players to do arenas and get all milestones to farm whatever resource they're farming. Okay, sound good? All right, let's move on to the final arena, 5 and 6 star. This is rank up resources. Units and battle chips, again, like I said, you're just transferring the net gain of units and battle chips from existing arena systems and the, what's it called? Arena crystal output and putting them in milestones. Simple as that. Okay, and you have your progression specific rank up resources. Extremely simple to do. Okay, if you just give out 1 catalyst worth of the highest whatever acceptable resource is, like for example, I'm a Valiant player, I don't expect you to give me 1 tier 4 alpha every single week. Okay, I understand that's not something that would align with how your goals are set, but we are moving into rank 5s very soon. Everyone who could possibly get rank 4s has maxed out like 35, 40 of them. Okay, so an acceptable reward would be 1 whole tier 6 basic catalyst, 1 whole tier 3 alpha catalyst every week, or maybe slightly more than that. Okay, how about 2 of each? Extremely simple, right? In fact, let me tell you what I think is a very good idea. Currency conclusion. You're removing loyalty from the game, making glory the primary alliance currency and reward. You tweak the glory store to make it so that we can acquire respectable amount of rank up resources because we're getting twice the glory now. So the rewards need to justify why the glory store is the best way to spend your currency, remove Mysterium. Okay, Mysterium is another currency that doesn't need to exist. We have too many. For people who might say otherwise, give me a second here. Back to the store. What do you exactly get from Mysterium? Trader's Outpost. The first 4 things have nothing to do with Mysterium. Next up, the 2 things here, nothing to do with Mysterium. This is where Mysterium's value comes into play. What do you have here? Tier 5 basic, 1/6 stone, a little bit of shards. I don't care about the shards. Put them somewhere else. 6 stones, shards, relic shards. We've already discussed this. The 5-star arena has all the shards. Okay, the selector can be between champion shards or relic shards depending on your progression. It's not that complicated. But here, this is something I find value in. 2 of these every single week. Just move these into the arena. Simple as that. Okay, Mysterium has no purpose in the game other than this stupid Trader's Outpost. Just move these rewards into the arena, making arena fun again. And for the love of God, Kabam, make Express mode open to all players. Behind a sigil wall is not where you want that to be. Okay, make arena accessible. Let's go back here. So, with this new refresh, I will also suggest taking away rank rewards from the arenas completely. It could be a little controversial. People get new 5-6-star champions. But what I'm suggesting is for Kabam to pivot from the way they distribute /sell/monetize champions to a new system that is more sustainable and more aligned with both their goals and what the community honestly wants out of a gaming company. Okay, let's remove rank rewards. This is one less thing Kabam has to worry about. And no matter what and how dull arenas are, having rank rewards undoubtedly adds a little bit of complexity for the back end of the game. Okay, Kabam still has to have people who keeps an eye out on arena, checks to see bots, checks to see whether or not the people who are getting rank rewards have been using bots, something like that. It's going to ease up manpower. Okay, it's going to take some resources that they would have spent in processing rank rewards for arenas, however minuscule they might be, for them to put that energy into some place more productive, which players would appreciate more. Okay, so we got the final conclusion of how currency can actually be simplified in the game. Okay, these are not groundbreaking at all. Okay, you have to replace loyalty with glory. Okay, all you have to do is tweak the glory store a little bit, making glory actually one of the better resources. Sorry about that. What this also does, by the way, Kabam, is that it brings more players into your Alliance War and Alliance Quest game modes. There's a lot of people who are completely done with either or both of these game modes. Okay, removing quests, turning them into raids, Alliance Quest fun. Okay, removing useless reward currency like loyalty from Alliance War, adding glory makes wanting to do war more of an argument. But now you add both of those with a good upgraded glory store, which actually gives rewards that are worthwhile. Players will 100% make an effort to try and play these modes on a regular basis. Okay, let's talk about relics. Okay, not too long ago, Kabam came out with StatCast relics. In one word, suck is what they do. They are absolute waste of the devs' time and whatever they think they're adding to the game. This is not it. Okay, not only do these relics don't enhance your champions in any significant enough way, they just give you a stat boost. You know what I mean? I thought we already had boosts in the game. Okay, why not just give a 10% block proficiency boost? Designing a whole stat cast relic to then add to your champions to then increase their attributes. I don't see the value of these. Okay. Not only did they introduce the most dumb abilities, they made multiple variants of the same relic, which means there's 4 types of the Thing relic and 4 types of Colossus relic, which also diminishes the value of selecting what champion goes with what relic. The most fun mechanics of the game, the behind the scenes that players don't necessarily yell at the top of their throat, lungs about, but inherently invest time in thinking and finding solutions to. Relics were one of those. Okay, you had to know what relic is good for what champion. It created some interest in these things. Some relics added so much value to a certain champion that they inherently made that champion go up a tier in their value. The Venom relic, for example, what it did for all those cosmics that inflict bleeds. You know, the Black Widow relic, the Thor relic, the Hulk relic, increasing the physical damage. I can go on and on about what Battlecast relics did, but because my face is covering it, bring back Battlecast relics. Okay, those were actually fun. They had a purpose in the game. Okay, strikers are a great way to incorporate relics, but to have them be just unnecessary attribute additions is ruining what is a very interesting and I'm sure difficult feat to have achieved with designing relics. Okay, this is the most laziest thing Kabam could come up with. All they have to do is come up with random stats. Okay, they just have to skin the relic with an existing second batch and then just flood them into the game economy and start opening offers for their shards. 7-star new relic, batch 2, wave 2, or whatever the hell they're calling it. I mean, think about it this way. How many champions exist in the game? Kabam, do you plan on launching 50 science champions in relics and then having 4 iterations of each of them? Like, have you thought this through? What is the state of the game going to be in 10 years? You're at wave 2 right now. This is what, 2 years after you've introduced relics and less than 1 year since StatCast relics came out. Okay, how many waves can you do? Okay, at one point, by the way, not only are 3 stars, 4 stars, and almost 5-star relics useless now, 6-star and 7-star relics are going to have the same outcome. Okay, because once you start just flooding it, there's not going to be enough champions for people to put these StatCast relics on. And when there's 4 of them, I don't care if they give a 10% block proficiency or a 5% pierce to a champion. Okay, it's not something that makes it fun. If it adds an ability into a champion's kit that makes that kit seem stronger and have an effect, then I, as a player, want to take time to invest what relic goes with what champion. Okay, this is basically dead weight. I beg you to stop. Okay, I don't care if you open up a sell option to sell all of these relics for 5, 6, and 7-star shards and bring back Battlecast relics that actually served a purpose. Okay, not to go too deep, but that's my relics rant. This is the last topic, monetization. And this is probably where a lot of people might not be happy with the kind of suggestions I'm making, but I genuinely believe this is a good direction to go, both for the players and for the company, because the way they've been trying to monetize the game, it is so desperate and weak that everyone in the community absolutely hates them. Okay, this is a video game. People want to play this for fun, and they spend money for fun. How did you, Kabam, manage to make players hate having fun. Okay, it's just toxic monetization strategies, one after the other, with no long term goal, with no actual pathway of how they're going to keep the game sustainable. This is just throw this at them and see what sticks kind of a tactic that they've adapted so far. So here's what I'm suggesting on how Kabam can fix monetization in MCOC and make a ton of money doing it. The first thing, and this is again, I'm not introducing new gameplay mechanics and features that they need to design. This is existing stuff. Okay, it's existing stuff that you need to just retune to achieve whatever I'm suggesting. Platinum track. It already exists. 90 days to get whatever the end goal of this track is. Change it. 30 days. Platinum track. Price, change it. $50. Okay. Balance it with whatever currency goal that you have. $50 to get a platinum pass for 30 days. What happens at the end of 30 days? You get a champion selector, and that champion selector is between the two new champions that came out that month. So for example, if we were to look into the game today, the two new champions are Frankencastle and Dracula. Okay, a 30-day platinum track would have been started when this month's event started, and by the end of it, every person who's purchased the platinum track can select one of these two champions. 7-star highest level that their progression allows. But this is a honest way to sell champions to players. Second, what will the gold track have? The gold track can have up to 10 or 20 grace crystals. The new grace crystals that increase their chance of giving a 7-star as time goes on at a 15 and 30-day interval. This way, free-to-play players who also participate in the track objectives will have a slim chance to get that champion out of the platinum track for free. Okay, you know, Kabam, how tiny that percentage is. 0.08 to get a 7-star out of that, right? So this is not going to be game breaking in any capacity, but what it is going to do is that eventually, because of the way the grace crystals work, is that eventually every player, free to play or otherwise, will get a 7-star featured champion out of those grace crystals. It's only going to happen once. It's going to happen once in maybe 30 days. Maybe 3 months. And then it's going to reset, and it's not going to give the same reward for another 3 months. Unless you're super lucky. With 0.08% chance, if you get super lucky, my God, you deserve it. Kabam, don't make an argument as to why a person with 0.08% chance winning should not have won. All right? Platinum track is a very simple way to sell the champion. This also gives you 30 days to do the second thing, which is the platinum track has a selector at the end for 1 out of 2 monthly champions, but on the web store, you can have a direct pay to get track for Veils. Okay, you've done this. The first champion that came out on the web store was Count Nefaria. The last champion, I believe, was Silver Samurai. I don't know if Frankencastle or Dracula have had their track events. I don't think they have. But why not? If someone is willing to pay hundreds of dollars every single month to get the latest champion at the highest rarity, I say do it. Okay, this is going to give you whatever money that you think is fair for that champion twice. Once when they buy the pay to get, and the second time via the platinum track, where they can either choose to get a dupe of that champion or they can select to take the other champion, right? Someone might be a massive whale who is going to get both champions from platinum tracks and then get both champions somehow from the summoners market. Okay, if people are spending hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars, I believe 100% they should get champions. Bro, this is a mobile game. Okay, I will say this. The reason I am completely in support of this system is because of the Titan system mechanic. Okay, let me take you back to the game for one more minute. And if we go into the champion pool, I'm someone who has not spent any money in the game to get any champions. Okay, I have maybe spent $50 in the last 6 months to get either the summoner sigil, to maybe get like a tiny doom cycle deal just to get that event over with, and basically single digit expenses. Okay, $5, $7, $10, nothing more. The highest I've spent probably is the summoner sigil, and that I get once every 3 months. However, because of the Titan crystal and the way it works, I have Nico, a fresh champion, Okoye, fresh champion, Yelena, pretty new champion, Jean, pretty new champion, Spider-Woman, another new champion, Bastion, not that old. Okay, I got lucky from the Grace Crystal, so I got Silver Samurai. This is what I mean. It is fun to be surprised by a new release champion, even as a free-to-play player. And if you have Grace Crystals who do this, the gold track will be a great success and players will be okay with it. Carolina Dean, another new champion, and I have her. I have all of these champions. And the reason I do is because the Titan Crystal pool system allows players who are being competitive and getting the Titan shards to get these new champions within 3 to 6 months of these champions coming out. I think that's fair. I think if you spend $0 on this game, every player knows this game costs money to run every single day. And even when people diss on devs or community managers, I think people seem to forget that there's human beings going to work every single day, clocking in at this company and working nonstop to make this game go round. Okay, and those people deserve to make as much money as they want, and the people who are actually paying those bills need to be celebrated and actually pushed more into embracing their veil like personas. Okay, and people like maybe me and even other players who don't necessarily spend on this game. Okay, I play this game every single day for months, and all the money that I've spent in this game couldn't pay a single dev's salary for a month. Okay, so I am not going to be a pretentious douche and be like, I deserve to get the newest champion that you people have designed within the first month for free without having to spend. No. Okay, but with the Titan Crystal, within the first 3 to 6 months, I could get lucky and get that champion. All I have to do is be consistent in the game, which is great. The only thing I want Kabam to consider is bringing the price down for the Summoners Market track events. More than $500 for one new champion is insane. It is not sustainable. Okay, not only are you alienating a whole base of spenders who will maybe give you $60, $80, $100 for a new champion, but $500 price tag is, regardless of how much money you make, so significant that people won't want to do it month over month. Okay, so I'm not going to suggest any price, but I do think you should consider lowering it a little bit and opening up a lower tier of getting the new champion with a $50 platinum track every month. Okay, $50 platinum track from a lot of players. With some countries whose currencies are bad, they might still not be spending, but for most Western countries, okay, and most European countries, and your biggest target audience, which is North Americans, $50 a month to get the latest champion is a pill most players could consider swallowing. And that's not the only suggestion I have for monetization. The next most important way that Kabam needs to start monetizing the game is to fix the sigil store. Okay, getting a summoner sigil is an absolute waste in terms of what value you get. Okay, there's companies, multi-million, billion-dollar companies that have built their business on a subscription model. Kabam, you are not a billion-dollar company. You don't have the same expenses they do. I think if they can survive the subscription model, you can also make the most of the subscription model if and only if the subscription is actually valuable. Okay, so here's how we're going to fix the summoner sigil. It's not rocket science. This is what the summoner store should look like. It is extremely simple, extremely straightforward. Every month you get the summoner sigil. You get access to 3 7-star crystals for 10,000 shards. This is for early players, your Valiants, your Cavaliers, your Paragons, your Throne Breakers. Okay? Valiant players have access to 3 Nexus 7-star crystals. These are not free, by the way. If you notice, the sigil offers for lower tiered players is 10,000 shards. Kabam already did this when they first introduced the 7-star crystal, is that the first 2 crystal every player gets is for 10,000 shards only. Give this value to new players who are just getting Thronebreaker, who are just getting Cavalier, so that they can buy these crystals for cheaper. Do the same thing with 5 stars. Do the same thing with 6-star shards. Give them value and get them onto the subscription model while they are progressing in the game. Okay? If they can get a 6-star crystal and 5,000 shards, that is amazing. They're going to want to get the summoner sigil. Okay? If instead of getting a 7-star featured crystal for 11,000 shards, which is what it is, if you could get a 6-star featured crystal for the same price as a regular 7-star, that's what you want. Okay, so 20,000 shards for 3 Nexus 7 stars. There's God knows how many champions in the game right now. I don't think it would be game breaking, Kabam, for you to let players have access to Nexus crystals, especially if these are paying players. Okay, I would pay the $14 after tax price tag simply for the fact that I want the Nexus crystals. I know what champions I'm chasing. The generic 7-star crystals don't excite me. Okay, but if I can pay $12-14 a month to have a better chance at chasing a champion that I really want, I'm gonna pay that price. Okay, it refreshes every month. 3. That's all we're talking about. The same applies to Nexus Valiant crystals. I've heard so many people complain about the fact that Valiant players who have most of the Titan champions are so far ahead that they're getting max sig crystals out of the Titan pools. Okay, champions that came out 3 to 6 months ago, they are getting Sig 200 dupes on those champions. This way, those same players can trade their Titan shards to get 3 Nexus Titan crystals instead. Okay, you want these people to also see some value in your Titan crystal. The next tier you open up, maybe make it a Titan Epoch crystal. Okay, so you get 5 choices from the Titan pool. It's not that difficult because people are paying for this privilege. And this payment should actually amount to something. There's a very good chance that you could pop open this 7-star Titan Nexus and get Spidey Supreme, Sig 200 dupe on Gentle, and Red Hulk, who was in the Titan pool until last month. Okay, so this isn't as game breaking as Kabam wants people to think. This is a good change that brings value to the $10, $15 subscription model. Okay. Here's the next thing that you want to do. You have a system in place in the sigil store where you can trade your revives and your potions for a higher tier of revive and potions. Here's the stupid thing though, Kabam. People who are maxing out on those will also max out on the higher tier ones that you've already placed in the store. What we want is to be able to convert these tiny ones into the level 6 potions and revives that we don't have access to. Okay, so this level 6 revive, for example, I can trade 4 of my level 1s, 2 of my level 2s, 1 of my level 3s, and I can get the higher level ones. The same thing applies with potions, which is that level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 potions. All of them, I don't want a tier system. I just want to trade them for one level 6. Okay, the cost of the level 6 can differ based on what potion I'm trading in, but I only want the highest tier one. And if that highest tier one doesn't exist anywhere in the game except for the sigil store, the value of the sigil store goes up immediately. Okay, now, one of the most important things that young players who have just started playing this game will want is masteries. Okay, if your sigil store immediately gives them a 50% discount on carp cores and the stony core masteries, okay, it's a no-brainer. People are going to be able to pick that up immediately. Okay, new players who have just started being Cavalier, who've just started being Thronebreaker, are already on the subscription model. They are more likely to leave that subscription model up every time they advance past their current progression title, because the value keeps going up and it is more fun for them to open a Nexus than it is to open a generic crystal, for them to get champions for cheaper than it is to get them regularly. And the whole point of the game that I'm seeing from Kabam's side, even with their Act 6 rework, is to get players into 7 stars as quickly as possible. They don't want players to be stuck on Act 5, Act 6, or even Act 7. I don't think that's possible, but you get my point. They want people to jump over into the end game community as quickly as possible, and I think a sigil store that gives them quick access and good value is the way to do it while monetizing the game. Between the platinum track and the sigil store, we're talking about an at least $60 per month income from players that you can essentially rely on. $60 a month. I pay $25 for Netflix. Okay, and there's players who spend way more than that on a random Tuesday when they go out to get a bite. Okay, it happens. But if this level of value is provided, I think they will keep coming back. And the last thing that I want to say is there's a box here. Back to the game for a second. This weekly bundle. I don't see value in this bundle the way it should be. Okay, this is generic stuff that players get from all over the game anyway. Okay, this is stupid. Replace this. Okay, replace this with what I'm showing you here, which is this little tiny box you got here. 3 energy refills, 3 Alliance Quest energy refills, 3 Alliance War energy refills, and a few units. Keep it simple. You want people who have sigil, the sigil, to have an edge in the game. That's why they're paying you. They're not paying you to get an extra 2 items that they already get from the rest of the game. Give them something that gives them an edge. Extra energy refills. These are people who don't have to necessarily be on top of AQ and AW because they get energy refills they can just use every week. Simple. Effective. Okay? Give people the edge. Not enough to have them walk all over others, but this is quality of life. Okay? This makes their experience in game better. All of these rewards, none of them affect how they interact with other players. Them having access to level 6 health potions and revives is not going to suddenly make them win more battleground matches. Okay, them having a couple of more energy refills, meaning they don't have to constantly log into the game, they can ease up and be like, I'll just use my energy when I can, is not going to make it any less interesting for people to play the game who don't have the sigil. Okay, I think this is a very simple but effective change. And lastly, this is the most important. sigil store redesign that we need. Okay, you already have what I suggested in the previous slide with increased inventory, which you do great. Quicker arena champ refresh. I think right now your energy refill goes up faster. I'm not sure if your arena champs are refreshed faster. If not, that should be a thing. But your alliance war and alliance quest energy should also go up faster. Okay, I think this is something you can easily do. This is my big pitch. Have a trophy room within the sigil. Okay, this should be the only way you get trophy champions from here on out. Now I know Kabam has given out 7-star Kangs, Thanos, Maestro is in one of the content. A lot of people have deathless champions. A lot of people maybe even picked up the Sigil Witch. Sigil Witch is what I said, okay? But not everyone does. This is a great way for everyone to feel like getting the Sigil month over month is also worth something. Okay, let me hide my face real quick because the last item I've suggested is a deathless piece selector. And I can understand right now, one piece, you've priced it for 5,000 units, which is absolutely bonkers. Kabam, that's close to $200 in value. $100 spent on the unit store gives you just over 3,000 units. Closer to 4,000 maybe if you spend on the summoner market, but that is still absurd amount of money for one piece. Kabam, I can buy a PlayStation 5 Pro and 10 of the top games for what you expect players to spend on one singular champion. Champions that aren't even worth jack shit. No one cares about Deathless Guillotine. Deathless She-Hulk is the only decent Deathless champion out of the 4. And I'm not even saying Deathless Thanos should be in this pool. But if someone is paying you $12 a month, give them one piece of the Deathless champions so that in 5 months, when they've spent $50 plus, they can get one Deathless champion. Okay, there's 4 Deathless champions right now. Okay, I think that's a good way to spend your sigil credits. Whatever you've got going on with the sigil credits right now, with the stupid StatCast relics and getting a couple of potions and shards, I mean, this is stupid. You already have game modes that give these. Okay, stick to those. Maintain a level of consistency. Do you have to do something to get something in this game? If the answer is yes, that's the only way doing something in this game has value. If I pay you money every month and I can just pick up 1,500 shards, all you've done is reduce the value of 1,500 shards. Okay, so going back here, the trophy room. There's a bunch of champions here. You're not going to be able to get all of them. Every time you renew your sigil, you get 1 sigil credit per month. 1. That's it. You can spend it on either a deathless piece or you can save it until you have 5 and you get one of these trophy champions. I think this is a great and healthy way to monetize the game, and your player base will actually be happy with a consistent monetization strategy. And the health of the game for the next 10 years relies on whether or not, Kabam, you listen and make these changes. Okay, I'm not saying I got everything perfect here. To everyone listening, I would love for you guys to please give me some feedback, criticize whatever you think was a dumb suggestion, and let's start off from this. Let's start bringing up some solutions as to how we can make this game the best game for all of us. Okay, we can't just be shitting on community managers pretending that's going to do anything. Okay, we cannot keep asking them to nerf champions or buff champions. In the grand scheme of things, there's new champions every single month, but there's some core principles in the game that we've gone farther and farther away from. And that is hurting the game a lot more than what a stupid serpent or dark phoenix is doing. if I have no incentive to play end game content, if act content is so dull that I can just breeze through it in a weekend, if Battlegrounds has so many toxic champions that I just do the same fight again and again, if there's 10 different forms of currencies that I just have no idea what is really going on, eventually any player who loves the game will also get burnt out. And I feel like that's what's happening, is that a lot of players have been feeling this weight of burnout with the direction of the game going in the direction it's going. And all it takes is for Kabam to make one mistake, which is to lie about nerfing a champion like Spider-Woman, which we all know was a lie. You made up a whole defensive threat, blah, blah, blah. You wanted to take away Ensnare because she was countering a bunch of champions on attack. You didn't want her to blow past the Serpents and Kindreds and the Dark Phoenixes, so you just nerfed her. Be honest, we know that's what you wanted. But making that one mistake brought every single person who was already on the verge of quitting, who was frustrated, who was not happy with the direction of things, who was feeling unfulfilled in the game. Because say what you will, it is a give and take. If the game isn't giving you what you're putting into it, you're gonna get burnt out. You're gonna feel it. Okay? So what we needed is for Kabam to put their foot down, whip up a meeting, decide on a healthy direction of the game, but it doesn't seem like they've been doing that. Okay, so it's up to us to at least start this conversation, to push this conversation to them, so that they at least take one or two suggestions from maybe this video, maybe someone else's video. And there's just so much good advice going around the community. And I think the reason most players have come so far is because we've listened to the advice of our community. And I think if Kabam does the same with their game, they will also, at the end of the day, be able to come out on the right side. Okay, that was a big rant. So thank you to everyone who watched this video. I'm starting YouTube again. I already made one video about that. This is the longest video I've ever recorded in my life. Okay, I've already had to pause the recording like 2 times, so I'm gonna have to find a way to stitch this and upload it to YouTube. I hope it makes up for the streams that I've missed, but I will start streaming every single day. I already have. I've only missed a couple because I was working on this video. Those graphics took ages, you guys. Okay, 7:30 p.m. Pacific. Please come by. Let's talk about the game. Let's chat. Let's have some fun. And I will see you guys in the next one. Please like and subscribe. Thank you so much.